Adding a persona photo. You must include a photo in your persona for each persona that you create. So you'll need at least 2 photos. You don't want to use illustration. Why do I say that? Well, when you're creating a persona, you want to create a representation of a particular person. So using a photo of a real human face helps people emotionally connect with your persona. It makes them feel more realistic and more relatable. So what I recommend is using Adobe Stock and choosing free under the drop down to find your image. Choose one that matches your layout. So if you're using the layout where I used a long photo of a picture of a person on the left, you may want to use a portrait, or if you're putting your photo into a particular frame, you may want to choose landscape orientation. So inside of Adobe Stock, you can use the filters within there to choose different layouts for your stock photography. Once you've downloaded them from Adobe Stock, go ahead and move them to your folder that you're working on, so that not only is your files in there, but they're all put together so that if you ever need to go back in the future, you know where they are. So once you've picked out your stock photography in Figma, you're going to select the placeholder image. On the right under Fill, click the image. Select Upload from Computer, and then you're going to find that photo that you've downloaded. Then you're going to adjust the crop as needed. So depending on how your photo looks, you may need to try a couple different types of photos to see which one's going to work best. One of the best parts of working with Figma is its convenience to placing objects inside of the document. For this next part, I'm going to use this Persona B to show you how I created this photo in a mask. There's a couple different ways to add photography to your project. You can go the more formal route, which would be File, down to Place Image and Video, and then find the photo or imagery that you want to place in the document and click Open, and you can just click once and place the photography in there. Another way to place photography in is using your Finder window. So going to your documents here and then choosing the piece of photography and then just simply dragging the photo right on there. You can also drag the photo directly from your desktop as well. I guess you could say one benefit to using Adobe Stock is the fact that most of that photography that you're going to bring in is going to be high res. In fact, I would say 100% of the time it's going to be high res. So that's kind of the reason why I would recommend using the Creative Cloud photography for that. And there's actually a couple of different ways to do this. You can use a different shape, but for this example I'm going to show you the circle, but you could apply the same technique to any kind of polygon, star, or you can even use the trusty pen tool to create your own shape and then mask it. So the next step that I'm going to do is I'm actually going to drag out a circle. So I'm going to select the ellipse tool, and in this case I'm going to actually hold down the shift key when I drag out the circle. If I don't do that and I create another circle and I don't hold down the shift key, I'm guessing that my circle is proportionate, but it never will be. So by holding down the shift key when you make your circle, okay, that will allow my circle to be perfectly symmetric on all sides. Okay, so that would be my recommendation here. Now, there is an order when it comes to masking, and one of the things that I would tell you to do is look at where, for instance, there's a piece of photography, and in my layers palette, I can clearly see it over here. I also have this circle that's sitting right on top. So let me show you the incorrect way to mask, and then I will show you the correct way to mask. It's really good to see both ways so that if you accidentally make a mistake as you're working, you don't panic, okay? So I just haphazardly threw a photo in here, threw a circle in here, and if I select the two, I can control click and come in here and say use mask. You can see what happened here. It did not mask the way that I thought it was going to. And that is because of the order. I had basically the circle on top and then the piece of photography behind it. And that's actually incorrect, right? So let's go ahead and do Command Z. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna move the thing that I want masked to the top. I could just simply click and drag up on the layers palette here, like so. And if I'm not sure where that circle is, I know that it's directly underneath it. So instead of trying to make sure I collect and do everything over here, what I could do is select my photograph over here and the ellipse, because I know that those are the two that are going to mask together. Now this time I'm going to control click and then use mask. And you can see now that it is nicely placed into my mask. Now, if you notice in my photo over here, right, I've got the young lady and you can see that she has a little bit more of the Coke bottle in the picture. And the reason why I want to do that is that you can see that one of her, let's zoom in here for a second, one of her favorite brands is Coca-Cola. So I want to make sure that that's in the shot somehow. That might be pertinent to the overall persona. So it's really good to make sure that I can see that. So how do I size this down? Well, by simply clicking into, did you see how I double clicked into the photo? And now I'm going to size down the just the photo. If I didn't double click and I clicked here once and I sized down, that just sizes, right, my mask and photo together. And you can see that now is actually not proportionate anymore. So I don't want that to happen. I do want, though, to fit it inside of here. And so the first thing that I might do is just kind of bring it in here and say, okay, yeah, I see I need to size this down to kind of fit that size. So this time I'm holding down the Shift key and everything is then being proportionately sized down. Now I can just kind of, I could literally, if I wanted to, I could select both of these two here together and align them. And you can see that my bigger photo is still way too big. So I can kind of size this down. And I can see where I'm using kind of my guides to kind of guide me to kind of get the exact same size that I'm looking. But I still want to show a little bit more of her hand, a little bit more of the bottle. So again, double click inside of here and then size that down and adjust the photo with inside of the mask like that. Now there is one more thing that I want to share with you. I'm going to go ahead and drag that photograph in one more time. I want to show you one more thing about the UI of Figma that you may want to think about while you're working. So I'm going to go ahead and drag in another shot of the same girl. And this time what I'm going to do is, as I hold down the photo and drag it, one of the things you'll start to see is that she is now inside of the Persona B. Why did this happen? Well, if you click on the Persona document, you'll see over here there's this little tool called Clip Content. And what Clip Content does is it does exactly what you think it does. It clips all the content with inside. So if I want to see the whole picture, I would need to uncheck to see the whole picture. However, keep this in mind, when you go to export out, whether it's a PDF or an actual user interface that people are going to interact with, they're only going to see what's inside the clipped area, okay? So when you're working, I would suggest to leave this little clip content on so that you can kind of see what folks are going to see within their device. And that is also helpful too when you've got pages that scroll. In some cases, pages scroll, or websites scroll, or cell phone user interfaces scroll. And so having this clipped will be helpful so that you know what your user is actually seeing at any given time.